Were you guys familiar with the Jack Reacher novels before being cast for this film?
No.
I wasn't. No, I mean, the script was my first interaction with it, and then very soon afterwards, I did read the book One Shot, on which our film is based, and I was very impressed by the adaptation that Christopher McQuarrie did, because he absolutely captured the tone and the world of the book.
Yeah, no, I came to the books through the script, and then I read one, and then I read another, and then I found myself reading a couple more, and they're very addictive. You've got this kind of wonderful hero who's also a bit of an anti-hero. He's kind of like a modern cowboy, and, you know, I do love a bit of that.
Can you talk about working with Chris and Tom?
Yeah, I mean, what you get with Chris and Tom are two people who just live and breathe cinema. I mean, they're cinematic, the library in their heads of films and references, and then with Chris in particular, his ability with screenwriting and storytelling and character as well. So, you know, I know for me it was like going to school, you know, being around these guys. Their cinematic brains were just so vast, and you know, anyone who is a cinephile who watches this film will see a lot of references. You'll see Notorious in there, you'll see North by Northwest, you'll see French Connection, you'll see All the President's Men, you'll see all these references in there, but in a standalone movie.
The entire film was shot in Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah.
You talk about shooting in Pittsburgh and what you liked about it?
I mean, I'm a huge fan of Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh treats us really well, and I think in return we've made Pittsburgh look really cool in the movie. I mean, I think it's another character. I find the whole kind of look of Pittsburgh really cool, the sort of post-industrial kind of facade of it. I love it. I love the kind of Heinz ketchup bottle kind of looming over the city, and you know, obviously the Steelers are one of the great teams, and you know, it was my first kind of taste of really getting into football and going to a lot of games and really understanding the game for the first time. I mean, let's not beat about the bush here. It's a very, you know, and also the Penguins as a hockey team are great.
They're pretty rabid fans. You have one scene in particular that I thought was hilarious. The scene where Tom has his shirt off.
Oh yes.
I know. Can you talk about the struggle of that scene in particular?
Well, you know, it's one of my most dialogue-heavy scenes, Julian, and you know, I had a lot of lines to learn, and then Chris throws his curveball. McQuarrie, the director, throws his curveball and says, "I think Reacher should have his shirt off in this scene." I said, "Are you sure about it?" They said, "Yeah, absolutely." So I said, "Well, you know, it's going to be very distracting. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get these lines out." And you know, suddenly there's Tom or a stroke Reacher standing there, you know, naked to the waist, as I'm wearing about as many clothes as I possibly could, you know, polo neck sweater. It was a difficult scene for me, that, Julian. It was a real tough one.
All right, my last question. So obviously you have this horrible tragedy in Newton, and you know the crux of the film is trying to find out what's going on with this sniper. Do you think it's going to affect the film at all? There's going to be any lag because of that?
There's no way of knowing, and you know, regardless, I mean, when you think of that tragedy, you almost don't want to be thinking or talking about a film in relation to that. I mean, the loss of those parents is seismic, and you know, our hearts go out to them. I mean, one of the things that I'm thankful of in light of that tragedy is that the violence in our film isn't celebratory, it isn't gratuitous. You know, it's a terrible attack at the beginning of the movie, which is what, you know, pushes Reacher into action to get the culprit of this horrible sniper
Reacher
attack.
is a defender of the innocent, and I think, you know, we have to be thankful for that. But I think David's right. We can't really talk about the two things in the same breath, you know.
No.
And one is a horrific reality, and one is a fiction.
And an entertainment.